But as far as some of the other misconceptions, you had mentioned Jacob Vuza's part in this whole battle that you were going to share.
Yeah, so Vuza, Sir Jacob Vouza, most famous Solomon Islander. I mean, he's a tough man. I have utmost respect for him. I served with his grandsons because I was a advisor to the Royal Solomon Island Police when I was in the Australian Federal Police. And his actions scouting, and especially during the long patrol with the Second Raiders, were just outstanding. I mean, he was a tough guy, retired out of British Solomon Islands Protectorate Police Force as a sergeant major. So he's a tough guy. But there's been a lot of misinformation about Vuza's actual account. So my references actually come from two accounts by Vuza, his personal testimonies over a period of 30, 40 years. So they're very corroborated. That hasn't changed the story. It comes from Martin Clemens, who's a famous Australian, I won't say Australian, he was a famous coast watcher. And he was Vuza's direct supervisor. And he was there that night with him. It also comes from a couple of other reports. It comes from the division logs. It is a number of evidence to confirm this side of the story. And I think I know why the common one comes about, but the real story with Vuza. So Vuza, he came in American lines on the 14th of August with Clemens, and they started working for the division intelligence, and they were running patrols. So Vuza went on a solo patrol out called Tenaru, and Tenaru was to the east, and he's originally from that area. So he was scouting. Anyway, the Japanese caught him, and he had an American flag on him that he'd got from one of the first few days of the campaign from a Navy flyer who was shot down. So he had that with him, and he was scouting, getting reports, and he was captured by the Japanese, by the Chiki detachment. And they said, "Who are you?" And he says, "Oh, I'm just a local. I don't know what I'm doing." He tried to get out, and they seen that flag, and they said, "Well, you know where the Americans are. You can guide us there." And he goes, "Oh no, I don't know anything." Anyway, they tied him to a tree, beat him up quite a bit. He wouldn't say anything, and then they said, "Look, this is what we're going to do. You're going to guide us there." And he said, "No." They go, "We'll kill you if you don't." He goes, "Okay." So this is where the story goes off track a bit from the common perception. The common perception is they beat him, tied him to a tree, bayoneted him, left him for dead. Then they took off. And then he's come to, this is the story it's told everywhere. Then he's chewed through his ropes, made 11 miles, because it's 11 miles from Tenaru to Alligator Creek, past the Japanese, severely wounded, 11 miles, runs into the American lines at the last moment, like a World War II Paul Revere guy, tells the unsuspecting Marines, "Look, the Japanese are coming, the Japanese coming." The Marines was able to man their guns just in time to stop the Japanese assault. And this is the common story, which is totally not out there. So the one I'm about to say is a little more believable. So
that's the story I'm most familiar with too. Kind of has an old cowboy and Indian type of, the cavalry showing up at the last minute to save the day kind of vibe to it.
Makes a good story. But what Vuza, which is corroborated by a number of other sources, he's beaten up quite a bit. His hands are still tied, so he's guiding one of the companies. You got to remember too, another thing that you don't read about much. This Japanese garrison, the original garrison, was there since July. Ichiki had 2 or 3 of those guys help guiding them too, because they knew the area. They are scattered about. So they were helping the Ichiki guys too. So they're moving. And Vuza says, as we're getting close, we're almost near Alligator Creek where the Americans are. Now he knows there's a lot of Americans there. And then they hear gunshots. So the first gunshots was these outpost teams. They're engaging the Japanese. So Vuza hears the gunshots. Japanese hear them. They turn around and they just stab him a number of times. They go, "We don't need you anymore," And then he falls down in the bushes, and they left him for dead. And then this is the middle of the night. He took advantage of all the confusion. He moves 700 yards down the bank, and then he crosses. The Americans had built a little bridge about almost 1,000 yards down. So he moves roughly to that bridge. He crosses, and a guy called PF's or Private Wilbur Brewery, and I have his account, and then he challenges him. And he says, "Stop right there, you dead son of a bitch." And Vuza goes, "Me no Jap man, me Vuza." So he lets him in, and then he sees he's very highly wounded. Vuza goes to the 2-1 command post. They put him there at the command post, and he goes, "I want to get Clemens. I want to see Clemens." So they laid him down and kept him comfortable as he can. Martin Clemens rocks up. They said, "All right, one of your guys is there." He rocks up, and this is a quite funny story. He goes, "Oh, Vuza's severely wounded." And Vuza gives his report. First thing, his duty, I give him my report. He gave his report. He said roughly how many Japanese were involved. I mean, this time the battle's going on full speed. Vuza's bleeding out a bit, and he goes, "Oh, can you take my last will?" And Clemens goes, "Yeah, I should here. You know, he's one of my guys, trusted guy." So he starts writing down what Vuza's saying. And Vuza's like, "I want to leave Aunt so-and-so this, and my cousin's this." And he said after about a minute or two, he's still going. He's going, maybe Vuza's not as bad as her as I thought. So then he summons up a medic or corpsman team and take him away. And I've got accounts from the corpsman. Vuza was the first person that did a full way blood transfusion on, and in the campaign. So yeah, so that's the official version of the Vuza story, which is more believable.
That's cool. I've never heard that, and
Yeah.
to know that you have all the accounts to back it up is even better. The provenance, but the corroboration.
There's a lot of misconceptions about the battle.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. And the thing that's so sad is we're getting to that time, you might say, where we're losing these guys, and so many of them are taking those details with them to the grave.
Yeah.
I wish I had started doing this type of stuff at a younger age, when they were a lot younger, and the, I guess, clarity of mind, where they could have shared those things. But I didn't know the questions to ask.
Yeah.
But that's hindsight's 2020. You had